All right, and we are live. That took forever. I
Nice.
apo- I apologize. I'm the Amazing Vito, aka Vicious V. Uh, Whatever. I'm talking to the one and only Jason Blanchard. I haven't spoken to him in 37 years.
Roughly.
It's awesome. We used to do tons of gigs together, and then he moved on to cruise ships, and I moved on to barges. So, um, how you been, Jace?
I've been better, can all things considered, but I'm alive. I'm breathing.
Well, that's the important. Yeah, I know that's the important thing. I had a I don't want to this start off as a downer, but I had a when you get
it
as a
is a
mess.
downer.
Yeah, well, start off as a downer. I already talked about my career,
This,
so
yeah, this
let,
should be
let's
taking
let's
place in a bar or a living room.
let's talk about how many people I've pissed off. All right, so
Do we have
uh
time for that?
no, I know it would. I was trying to do. He was trying to help me out to do a live, uh, where people could speak, chime
Interactive.
in,
Yeah.
because I wanted this topic. I want this topic to be comedy. What happened to comedy? And I invited Eric Idle of Monty Python, and he tweeted back at me, uh, "Answer: I have no idea." So that was really cool to have him say that. But yeah, I wanted this to be about how stand up has changed. I've known Jason for about 20 years. So, uh, yeah, we've seen how, it's changed. It's gone.
It always changes, though. I mean, back in the day, have you ever watched old clips of old comedians and their setups were 5 minutes long?
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to people don't have patience anymore. Back then you'd wait for that laugh and people would be engaged and they would listen, but nowadays you got to hit them, every 30 seconds, every minute, you got to get those laughs going. So,
Yeah, it made me change my routine completely, where I used to tell long stories and then have that punchline at the end. And I noticed during the whole long buildup, people would start talking, and and you're like, man, I gotta hurry this up. And so you'd make it more concise, and which is better. But I always enjoyed the storytellers,
mhm.
you
or
know
you
and,
got to or you got to have jokes throughout.
yeah.
Gaffigan is great for that, where he'll be telling a story, but all the way through, you're giggle, giggle, laugh, laugh, and then the big laugh at the end.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah, even Chappelle does that. He has a cool story, and during the story, he'll nail you right at the end with some heavy duty punchline.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, how are things going uh on your end?
Well, it's funny because it was chatting with a friend the other day about how much I just miss performing, and they're a non-comic person, so they were like, "What about virtual shows?" And you're like, "No, thank you." I have a lot of comic friends from the States who have been doing them or inviting me. Hey, Jason, come do my virtual show. It's a lot of fun. And my reply is, your definition of fun is much different than mine.
Mhm.
And I've seen very funny people do virtual shows, and it's just painful to watch.
Well, the problem is, Jace, a guy, he invited me. I had the same thing where they invited me to do a virtual show or a drive. Have you done this, a drive-in show?
No, but I've seen them, and
Yeah.
yeah, the whole honking and the whole lights flashing. It's
No, it's not for me. I mean, if you want to do that, great. But I had an utter panic attack where uh they invited me to do a show, and the stage, they could only allow, I think there were 33 people there because of
Mhm.
the wait staff. You were allowed 50, but wait staff and everything like that, you have to put that in account. uh but they had plexiglass all around the stage.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, and I'm claustrophobic. So I was just like, I can't do this, man.
Where'd you do that one? Because I did that at Absolute, Kingston, Ottawa, and Toronto.
Where they had you in the
Well, it
visual.
wasn't a bubble. It was more one piece across and then on the side. But because the audience had to see you, they had to play with the angles
Right.
because of the lights.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then the ideal way for the audience to see you meant the lights were angled in such a way that you couldn't see them. You could only see your reflection.
Oh God.
And God forbid you wore, like, the first night I had this black and white checkered shirt and it was just horrible because that's all I could see. So after that, it was all black.
Right, right.
But it was better than a virtual show. And friends of mine were like, well, do you think that they need the plexiglass? And I was hosting the first week. So when I went up to close the show, I'm looking at all the spit.
Oh,
And you're like, wow, this is not a bad idea forever.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. And then yeah, same thing with I don't know how comedy owners uh yeah, unless they own the building, I could see them surviving this, but I think most comic like in Canada, I can't speak for guys in the States. I know the one guy that owns the comedy, is it the Comedy Castle? He was just and rightfully so. Your business is pretty much being shut down, right?
Oh yeah.
So he's just trying everything in his power to uh do it the right way, and it's just if you could only allow 50 people and you got to pay your comics, your wait staff, your hydro rent,
Mhm.
whatever, at the end of the day you're just not you're not going to survive. So
And then I was scheduled for New Year's Eve in Kingston. I was excited to finally get back because after the first lockdown, I went and did Absolute. 2 weeks in Kingston, 2 weeks Ottawa, 2 weeks Toronto, and I felt normal again. And then everything, obviously, I ended up getting a day job. I haven't had a day job in 15 years,
right.
and which is just weird.
Do you
Um,
do you see it going back? I know it's quite a shock
yeah,
where you're kind of in other words, it's kind of like the business that you're in has just been decimated,
mhm,
right? And it's if people told you this a year and a half ago, you would say that's impossible. That's literally impossible.
yeah.
But
It's
it is. It's very yeah, and I get that same look when I ask comics. They're like, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm." It's that look of yeah, it was like this. It's just like it's this weird. I mean, I've interviewed um adult performers where
mhm,
they're like same thing. They're I think any performer that if you're doing live
yeah.
performance, they've pretty much broken your legs.
Well, yeah, Cirque du Soleil declared bankruptcy.
Did it?
Um, yeah,
Circus
Cirque du Soleil.
the friend from Montreal, the
Well, they're all over. I mean, Cirque du Soleil has all different shows all over the world, but yeah, they need to be they need to do it live. Apparently, I mean, people want to see that and be in the moment. Brought any theater gigs, movie theaters, anything entertainment wise, short of this, like obviously Netflix made hands over fist even more. But yeah, anything that needs to be live. um, I mean, I have friends who are musicians who tried to do. They'll do a show weekly, and I enjoy watching it. But it's come to the point where I can't even tip them anymore. You know what I mean? When you do the tip jar at the end of the night, you're like, I got bills to pay too.
I know. I know that's the thing where uh that's a tough part of it where people are trying everything to keep afloat. And I don't want this to be a downer, but this is just reality. Uh, this is what has happened to not only the comic uh, world, uh, but when you say that had no idea that Circus Soleil went under.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and I'm surprised that wrestling, like WWE events, or I haven't watched it in years. It just doesn't do it for me. But I don't know how they survive.
Well, I think they had enough in the bank. UFC was they led the way. They were the first ones to be back live, and they went to Abu Dhabi. They have it an island, Fight Island. So to get onto the island, you have to test negative. Once you're there, you have to be quarantined. You have 2 negative tests. So when they fly them in there, they keep them away from the virus, which I thought was impressive as hell. And I don't know if you watch the UFC, but as a fan, I love it when there's no audience, because you can hear every punch. You can hear the coaches yelling at them. So
You
I found it fascinating.
you suck. That's
They
your
go,
coach, man. Why is he yelling at you like that? Just because he's got money on you. That's why.
yeah.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, Jason, they could afford that,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you got bankers that could sit there and go, "Hey, let's open up a comedy club on Comedy Island," and
It
how much
still
money?
wouldn't work because you can't get the people there.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't. So, but I was watching the. I'm not a big football. I don't really watch football, or I'm not
Mhm.
really big on some of the stuff. But they had people in the stands.
They had people in the playoffs, so they had them separated. So you had a group of season ticket holders, and then they were had to be separated by 6 feet between groups, but they weren't, because when you see a touchdown, you'd see this guy go over and high five this one. But um, yeah, people just I don't think people understand how serious it is. Uh,
Well, what I don't get is I'm watching the game and I'm going, that's great that you were, yeah, I mean, everybody's got to, I mean, get out of the house, do stuff. Yes. But what I didn't understand was, okay, if we're at a game and we're apart from each other, right? Like we're 6 feet apart. Now, if I need to go use the bathroom,
yeah,
I have to squeeze by you to say, "Excuse me, sir, I need to get by."
the hypocrisy of some of the rules drives me nuts. You couldn't do a theater and have sectioned it off so people sit far away. But have you seen people on a plane, right? Jammed into a plane, everybody wearing masks. I mean, it's like
Yeah, it's very it's weird.
it,
And have you seen people have conniptions?
well, people see in my building, in our condo, uh, everybody wears a mask because there's one bald dude who calls you out on it when you don't do it.
Oh, no way.
Me, wear a fucking mask. Get
So
it?
he'll like at your condo, you're like the mask Nazi they call you there?
Um, I actually am mostly nice about it. I'm more complimentary to those people who are wearing it.
So you're very worried that do you have children or
My wife is immune compromised.
okay, that's why. Yeah.
So at one point we are lucky we got the main floor. So we kept just coming in the back. That's simple. And then we got a letter from the condo board saying you can't come in the back. And I'm like, until you're making sure everybody wears a mask, we're coming in the back. And of course, they have nothing to say about it. But I'm amazed people are still fighting it, and people are still talking about their rights to wear a mask or to not wear a mask. The whole thing drives me nuts. Just put on a freaking mask. You have no idea what it's like to breathe until you put on a gas mask. When I was in the army, that's something that was difficult to breathe. I forget I'm wearing a mask. I don't understand how people can be like that. One of my first part-time jobs was at a U-Haul, um, and a guy comes in. He goes, "Yeah, I have difficulty breathing with the mask on." And I guess I rolled my eyes, and he goes, "What?" I'm like, "I can't give you my normal reaction because I'm at work and you're a customer." He goes, "Why? What's your reaction?" I'm like, "I'm not a pussy. Just breathe. It's a mask. It's cloth. It's cotton. You're in Canada. How often in the winter would you wrap a scarf around your head 8 frickin' times?" So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
No, I know. It's just for me, uh I wear the mask. Do I like it? No, I hate it. But it's just what gets to me is when you go shopping and you see everybody wearing a mask, it kind of screws with my head. Like I just go, shit, everybody's wearing a mask in here, and it feels like yeah, remember the movie Outbreak?
yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of just that you know that fear of I see everybody, there's a station everywhere to wash your hand. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's keeping away, and it's just I just want to grab my stuff and get out of there.
Well, that's how everybody should be anyway. That's how I shop. Have a
Yeah.
list, get in, get out. But for years, I mean, for the last 9 years, I've been flying, a 6, 7, 8 flights a month. And you would see on occasion somebody from Asia wearing a mask. And when you learned they weren't doing that to not get sick, that's just their reaction. I woke up today, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to get anybody sick. So there's no stigma with it over there, which I think is fantastic. I don't, yeah, I just, in my mind, I can't understand how it's so difficult for people. You know what I mean?
I think it's a shock where uh, I don't know how old you are, but this is the first.
Oh,
But Jace, I've never, going out and seeing people wearing masks, and then you come home, you watch TV, you see riots, you see people without masks, just and
oh
you're
yeah.
going, you're sitting there going, like, I really hope that they take care,
Oh no, this is
what.
taught us people are selfish and
Yeah,
people.
well, if they're not gonna be wearing a mask and they're gonna freak out and I don't want them to come here, uh, to start this whole crap all over again.
Well, I can't believe they're just now testing people at the airports.
Well,
This
that
should
just
have been done ages ago.
yeah, well, that just shows you I mean, the level of you've seen how many people from the cabinet, in government have gone on holidays.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
They're telling you stay home, don't go anywhere. You could, and just the hypocrisy is just
Yep.
it makes people really pissed off, and I don't
Oh,
blame them. I mean, I watch it and I just go, that person needs to be fired.
absolutely. Without question, when you break those rules or when you nobody seems to be held accountable for what they say anymore. I mean, free speech is a wonderful thing, but it's not without. Uh, um,
Consequence.
Thank you. Oh my god, I just had a brain fart. Yeah, and so yeah, they all should have been fired. The ones in Alberta weren't. I was
They
like,
weren't.
really?
Well, it's just to me, it's just you know, I get it, that you want to take a trip, but if that's cool, like go take a trip, but if you're spewing this, saying, listen, you need to not go anywhere, don't go on trips, stay home, and then you go on a trip, that is a scumbag move. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's the thing where we sit there and we go, we don't trust anybody in government.
Yeah.
We just don't. We look at the way we treat each other, and we just sit there and go, man, humans are an incredibly selfish species.
Yes and no. I mean, I think
So,
you learn to be selfish
yes,
instinctually.
if
I
you want to
mean,
get if you want to get far in the world, yes, of course. If you want to be successful, yeah. I'm saying that as jokingly as possible,
mhm.
but yeah, you do see things where you're watching politicians, or like, here's a perfect example. There was uh whatchamacallit, a guy owned several casinos here, right? Him and his wife. And what he did was he went out and he went out and got vaccinated, and he lied. Like, he just said it, instead it should be like people that need it
Yeah.
mostly, right?
Oh, he lied to get it.
Yes. And people in Hollywood are paying, 5 6 figures to get the needle, which it should go to. You got these. One of the saddest shows I had to play was I had to perform outside in the cold, and it
Oh,
was for free, because
oh,
I felt bad for them sitting um, inside, freezing their tailpipes, right? Not for alone. Yeah,
mhm.
that's the worst thing that's going through their minds, and how painful they must be, to be alone. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't seen my parents in a year because
Or or how many people were like this close to a divorce, and then this started, and you're like, oh, we're trapped.
I'll tell you right now, and this is really weird. The people, like, next door, they were as happy as pig shit. Like, they
Mhm.
seem like it,
Yeah, yeah.
you ever, and then you find out, I saw one of them just, they left. And then the one couple houses down, he left his wife. And it's just, you're just going, was this from the COVID? Like, is this from just, are people
Well,
sitting there,
it's like the disease itself. It's
are people sitting there going, life is short and I'm going to have as much candy as I want? Like, the grass is always greener on the other side. So, hey, it's been fun, but life's too short.
I
And
think it was just an added stress. I mean, we had neighbors across from us who would argue really loud, but never early in the morning, never late at night. I'd be home, right? I'd come back from a cruise, I'd have a week at home, my wife's at work, and the argument would start, and I would just turn everything off and listen and enjoy it because it was never long. Um, but they moved out. We lost them. They were a great source of
you sure they're not Italian? I mean, my wife, the first time she met my parents, she was like, "Why why are they fighting?" And I'm like,
oh no, no, these guys
my
were fighting.
my dad's just asking to pass the salt." I mean, they yell.
Yeah, no, no, no. These guys would argue. And what was great was you'd learn so much about them. So,
Sure.
and they didn't know. And so I'd go out to get the mail, and there she is. I'm like, oh, I hope everything's okay with that cyst of yours. And she's like, what? I'm like, you guys argue really loud, like trying to find a way to let them know, but didn't stop them.
Do you notice as a comic that you just come out and just talk to people,
Oh, yeah.
and see, I throw people off. My wife says, "You know what you just said, right?" And I
Yeah.
go, yeah, I should have. It's just one of those things where but to me, I have more respect for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going to talk to me, like, if I sit there and I say, "Hey, Jace, I heard you last night arguing," I'm not going to tippy toe around it. I go,
Yeah.
"Hey, man, that thing about her making fun of your wee wee, whatever you guys were arguing about, if I bring it up, next time Vito's listening, and
Yeah.
he could be listening. So how about let's not argue?
Yeah, when my ex-wife and I we lived in Barrie, and we had a semi-detached, and we heard our neighbors arguing, and he throws out a line, and she goes, "That's Jason's line. He used that last week with Jennifer." And we're like, "Oh shit, they can hear us too."
Oh yeah. What I had kids once my daughter found out that I was like, dad takes off at night and he has a weird job, and then they look up what you do,
Mm,
and I had, quite the potty mouth. I try not to, but I had kids when I would go pick them up at school doing my stand up, like just doing them, some of the most, and I would just go, listen, don't, hey, you're gonna get me in trouble. Don't be and they would laugh about it, and I get it. And it feels good, but um the one kid, he would call me, here he comes. He goes, he would come over, and I love to play fight with the kids.
mhm.
So I would play fight, and I would say, one finger, I could destroy you with one finger, and I would ram it in his neck, and he would laugh his brains out, and just so he would see me at school, and I would be coming down the hallway to go pick up Sterling, and he'd go, "Oh no, it's Mr. Tickles.
Oh, gee.
Every time I go over his house, it's Mr. Tickles." And I go, "Oh God, kid, you're gonna put me in jail.
Yeah,
Do not call me Mr. Tickles."
that's gonna put a red dot on your house.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh man. Anyways, and then yeah, anyways. So, um, do you think comedy clubs are going to survive this next? Because I heard there's going to be another uh wave.
Well, I think it's once we get people up to once we get 80% of the population vaccinated, is when things can start to shift and go back to normal. So they just have to keep getting those damn vaccines out, and people have to stop being idiots and thinking they know more than doctors and scientists. Oh my God, I'm so sick of conspiracy theories. I am
Well,
so done with them. People, we need to start using them in reverse to get people to take the vaccination, and I bet that would work. Oh yeah, the anti-vax rhetoric was all brought to you by the Chinese because they want our health low.
but you know what it is? This is my theory in it. I'm older. Again, I haven't seen my parents in a long time. Being Italian, not seeing your parents in a year, and can really be painful. So, um, but I don't dare go over because I'm worried. I mean, they want to see their grandchildren, and the kids don't play with anybody. And I feel horrible. Like I just, as a dad, you're trying to keep them as busy as possible, but
Mhm.
when you were a kid, for me, I was a very social animal. I'd go fishing, hang out with the buddies, do stuff, right? You always did stuff. So and then at the comedy clubs, if I saw you or whoever, it was kind of hang out, talk,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It was this kind of comics have we have our own language, right? Go to the green room, make fun of each other, and then hey, watch my set, or I come out, you're like that was awful. Uh, Whatever. It was always
My favorite was always, "Oh, you'll get them next time."
yeah, you'll get them. Hey, 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 it happens. It happens to the best. So yeah, so we're very social, but again, we're older, right? So when you're in your 20s, you think you're invincible.
Mhm.
And I understand that. I get that hey, you're a young man or a young woman, but if you get the numbers aren't lying when they show the deaths. And then they'll sit there and go, yeah, but the person died of a car accident, so they put them down as they died of COVID, which I find that highly unlikely.
Not happening. No.
No, that is where you're going to lose people. And if you're already stuck at home and you're angry that you're stuck at home and you're not getting work and you start hearing these things, you will start to believe it, Jason.
No.
No, you'll start to believe if you're angry enough.
Oh no, I see what you mean, but
You know what
but
I mean?
this is also people who are getting sources. They're getting their information from one source,
Yeah.
just one. You're not reading um, uh, articles like when COVID first happened. We started because my wife has MS. We wanted to know as much as possible. So it's not like you're going to a news site. You're going to uh, different university sites and trying to get it that way. But I mean, a lot of stuff. The one that drove me the most crazy was when the conspiracy theory that if you wore a mask, it means you can't breathe oxygen, and you will. It's horrible. It's not good for you. Yet doctors and nurses have been wearing masks for four centuries, 400 years, and they haven't been dropping dead from wearing them all day, every day in their surgeries. So these are the ones that the conspiracy theories that there's no way anybody with critical thinking could fall for it.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So let's get back to comedy.
All right.
All right. So hopefully this goes away and we get back to where we were.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you your first time getting a cruise, working a cruise ship. Jason works cruise ships. So he also, stand up and, very few comics play cruise ships because you need to be clean,
Mhm.
and you need to be funny. So those are two things that are against me. So what was your first time? What was it like your first time going on a cruise? Can you like not you going on the cruise, like performing on the cruise?
Yeah, no, I get it. It was very stressful, mainly because when they first put me in for it, they said no. And I was like, oh damn, because you found out how much money they made. And you're like, oh shit. And then I had my gallbladder out. And then 8 days after that, I get a call from my agent going, hey, there's a fallout. You want to do the cruise? I'm like, yes. But I just had surgery. So I didn't tell anybody. And I just went. They flew me from Toronto to Miami to Nassau to join a ship. I had 5 shows to do, 2 PG shows, 3 adult shows. And at the time, you were allowed to repeat your PG, and then you could repeat one of your adult shows. So you needed 90 minutes of material, 30 minutes of it clean, which wasn't a big deal for me because I had done corporates, but it was stressful because you don't get a warm up act. Right? At least with Carnival, you're doing it in a club type of environment. So a host would go up who is an entertainment host. So they would go up, they would tell you what's going on, they'd introduce you, and that's it. So you basically had 30 minutes in an environment where people can be drunk, where there was children,
Oh yeah.
and you figure it out. I mean, if you had kids, I think it was a little bit easier to do. But in 9 years, I've only ever swore once at a PG show, which was a late show, and shit came out of my mouth. Like, just, I was like, I'm responding to some kid saying something. I was like, oh shit, shoot. But the first time was stressful. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But it must have been fun though. I mean, it must have been like like what do you do for people that don't know? I do know, but for those that don't know, what is the daily grind? Okay, first of all, explain for those that don't know what a PG means.
So it's a show where you had to be clean. You had kids in the audience. Um, Parents would bring their children. They'd sit up front, and you would have to be able to be like a Pixar movie. And you got to entertain the adults and the kids. So you can throw in innuendo, which was my favorite thing, is when you could throw in a joke and the parents are laughing at something that the kids are not. Um, so you just, I mean, you would learn how to, I mean, you were constantly writing because you, uh, when you would, if they liked you, they'd come back. And if it was the same show, even if they were told, hey, this is the same show tomorrow at a different time, people would come back. And I used to drive, I hated it. So to me, it was important to sit down and write. And I had 5 different 30-minute shows, which was a lot more fun.
Hmm. Yeah, that's yeah. So people that don't know, that's what
Yeah.
you would have to do. Did you ever have to do um, like a midnight show?
Oh yeah, yeah. We would different ships. The big ships had us do late night comedy, so you'd be up for 20 minutes each, 11:30 in the main lounge. So 1,000 to 1,500 people come packing in. Those are so much fun, man.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
I could only imagine. The
yeah.
Love Boat.
Well, the hard part about it was people who'd never seen comedy would wander in, and so they wouldn't know how to behave at a show. So if it was a PG show and you're dealing with a heckler, it's a little bit tougher than an adult show where you could just say whatever you wanted. But like anything else, right? When you first did corporates, you were like, oh my God, I don't know if I can pull this off. And then after you do them, you figure them out. And those who can adjust and improvise and learn, you just get better at it.
Yeah, corporates are. I remember starting off. Uh, your first time doing a corporate, you're terrified.
Hmm.
First couple of times you are, because you're going, these people paid a lot of money, and in my head I'm going, I'm not that funny, you know, and but then you do it, and you're like, okay, I get it, I get
Yep.
it. It's
You
just
figure it out.
there's a way of doing this without. Uh, I remember them saying, "You don't swear or anything, do you?" And I go, "No, no, no." But you don't.
There's more to it than just swearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and that was my big hurdle was, what do you mean I can't? I kept saying, I gotta swear that was, and it's an easy way to get a laugh. But if you could not swear,
Hmm.
you'll get a hell of a lot more gigs. And uh sometimes you'll get, or the agent will call and go, yeah, you gotta do this show, Christmas show or whatever, and they specifically asked for you, and oh no way, okay, okay, and then they're like, yeah, they want you to swear. So it's just like, okay, all right, you sure? But there wasn't any C words or anything like that. Because
Yeah.
when I went there, Jason, I was just like, so you guys want me to swear? Yes, but don't say that. Don't.
See, yeah, those are where you're careful for. I learned my lesson my first corporate season out west. Did you ever go out west?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't do a whole lot of corporates out there. This was
Well,
quite a
yeah,
while
there
ago.
was one particular booker that I got in with, and he was the lower on the tier type thing, but it was just new to headlining, and I had done these corporate gigs, and it was like the set amount. You were like 1,400, but I had like 6 or 7 of them in a row, and you were getting into the groove of them. And then I get to one in Drayton Valley, just south of Calgary. I had driven from Manning, Alberta. It was like 12-hour drive the night before. Like I drove all day to get there. It was an oil company, and I met the guy who booked me, and he's like, "Oh yeah," because I said corporate clean. He goes, "No, no, no, dirty as possible. These are oil people." And I was like, "Oh," and in my mind, I thought, "Oh, great."
I think I know who you're talking about, who the booker is, but go
Yeah.
on.
Big mistake. My opening joke was filthy.
Oh,
And 88 people sat there staring at me in awe. And the owner is dying laughing. So he owns the company. He loves dirty comedy. most of his employees are religious and very conservative. And I opened with a splooging on someone's chest joke.
All right, right.
I'm looking at my watch. I'm 34 seconds in. So now I got to recover. And
That's
it
the
took,
best when they see you look at your watch.
oh,
That's the best.
and so it took me, the next time I looked at my watch was when I finally got a laugh. 8 minutes. Like I was digging out. I had to go after it was terrible. So after that, you'd do a corporate event. They'd say, you can be dirty. You would ease in, right? You just ease in. You do your corporate stuff off the stop. Everything's fine. And then you'd throw one joke in. All right, we're good. And then you'd level it up. But yeah, I just slammed it in and I paid for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Although he did tip me. He did tip me.
That's very cool, though.
It was nice.
The best is having where I've had that where a boss it was for a dealership. He
Oof.
was the only guy he wanted it, dirty, but he was the only guy hysterically laughing. And I remember there were several women they were doing this.
Mhm.
And I was going, listen, he's the guy that's paying me. So I'm just doing the show for pretty much
For
him. So
him.
I just looked at him and he's just howling. He owned like 7 dealerships. So every dealership I would do of his, I would go, so you still want me to do? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He
And
doesn't care.
he got so angry at me I finished the show, and the biggest laugh. Had a wonderful show. He came up to me and he was just like, "I got a bone to pick with you. I want to talk to you." And I go, "Okay." And we go in the bathroom, and he's like, "That wasn't dirty. You did nothing dirty. You didn't." And I was just like, I was going, "But they liked it." And he goes, "I don't give a, I don't pay you for them. I paid you to make me laugh." And it was just like, I was like, "Okay, all right, you're the boss." But
Well, and you'd learn with corporates, if it's possible. Like I never wanted to eat before a show. We never did that.
me too. Yeah, yeah.
But I would go and I would be that kind of shadow. If they had a meeting before, I did corporate gigs in Saskatoon years ago. We had 5 weeks in Saskatoon performing at the Parktown Hotel. So you had 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, me and another comic. But then through the week, the bookers would get you these shows and you would go out to do the SaskTel brunch, and they were terrible. Like the brunches were the worst. But occasionally you'd get there. I'm an early from the military. I always want to get there early, and I would watch and try to find just somebody that nobody liked, and you could tell who it was. So you'd get that information, and that was one of the best things for corporates, was making it a little bit personal somehow.
Mhm. So yeah, that's yeah. I've come into a room where I didn't know that they were doing a meeting, and I had my suitcase. I brought my little suitcase with me, and I was talking to a waiter, and I said the most filthiest thing as I walked into the room, and they were in the middle of, and it was a bunch of doctors. It was
Mhm.
nurses and doctors, and I said something really, really bad, and they never forgave me. I mean, I remember going, okay, they bring me in this other room, and it was so sterile and it was weird. It was in this little weird little place. And I remember walking back out there, and the doctors and they were all out there, and I'm just sitting there going, right off the bat, I was like, guys, I honestly didn't know you guys were behind me, or else I wouldn't have, uh, I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
And the only laughter I hear is the guy, the waiter
Yeah.
that showed me. He's dying, like he's working the bar, but he's having the time of his life,
Yeah.
And anyway, so all right. So when you're doing a cruise, what do you do during the day do they have you doing stuff, or what do
No,
they?
I mean, we were contractors. So originally we were called fly-ons, then we were called guest entertainers. So you had your days to yourself. So it was important to set up to stay sane. You'd set up a routine, and you'd go to the gym. If you were in port, you'd go to port. You'd sit down and write. You had the time to yourself, but it was important to make sure to stay productive. I mean, I had worked with guys who always had new bits, and they were awesome to work with. And I also worked with guys in 9 years, I had never seen them do a different joke.
Yeah.
They had 3 shows, and they would repeat their jokes. There was never even, and I don't even know how that's possible, because in my mind, it would be boring for me. Like, how exciting is it when you have that new joke and you're going to throw it in, and everything it's like that great anticipation and wonderful feeling. And if it goes well, you're happy. And if it bombs, you got to pick it up in other areas of your set, man. It was fun. I miss the shitty parts of it. I miss waking up at 6 a.m. for immigration when we're in home port, right?
For what?
When a ship returns to the United States, it has to go through customs and immigration, and you are on the crew list with Carnival. So I would have to get up and wait for them to call us, and we would go in and go through, and they would check your passport, ask you questions, and you go back. But if you were in the wrong part of the lineup, it could take 2 hours of
Oh,
waiting.
wow.
So you would learn after time where to stand, where to go. Because it used to be they would put us at the front, because they always want the Americans at the front, and Canadians are kind of USC lights, is what we would get called. But then, it was just a hassle. Any immigration in any country, flying into Belize to board a ship, you had to go to immigration first. And sometimes they wouldn't know the proper stamps. It was just, there's a lot of frustration and stress with traveling to get to the ship. But once you got there, it was fun.
That's really cool, though. I mean, that must have been. I love ships. Do you? I sound like I have a little propeller on my head. I love ships. Um, I heard that the Carnival lines and all these lines are really, because of the COVID, that they are in dire straits.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Any travel industry stuff is hurting. And it's funny to be part of certain, like, Carnival Facebook groups, where it's people who've added you because they're cruisers and they like you, and you're watching people people who love to cruise love it. They've had their cruise canceled 3 times, but they just keep moving it, because as soon as we can, they will. And I think it's going to take vaccinations for the CDC to allow it. That if you haven't been vaccinated, you can't go on a ship. If you haven't been vaccinated, you can't work on a ship. Qantas Airlines has already stated that if you want to fly with them, you need a vaccine.
Hey, do
If
you
you
know?
want to,
Sorry, go on.
and if you want to work for them, you're going to have a vaccine as well.
Yeah, Qantas is the only airline that's never crashed.
I think that's not true since the movie. I think they did have a crash, but no fatalities. It was like off the runway.
Really?
Yeah, it was something stupid I looked up just not long ago.
Isn't that weird? Like, if you were a terrorist, wouldn't that be like kind of
You
your?
got to get that one.
Yeah, we're going. They don't talk like that. They talk like, we're going to get that one.
Not the terrorist I met. I haven't met. Maybe I have. Who knows? Yeah. So I think it's going to take. So have you been on a cruise ship?
No.
No.
I've
like regular ships.
I've been on ships, but as like the cabin boy. No, I've been on. I love
Water.
the ocean, but I've never been on cruises. I would love to, and I've been working hard to get my act nice and clean and trying to make it as, but it's like anything, it's, who and it's just the way it is, man. So
And
hope.
back in my time, it was one and done. That's all you had. One cruise. The cruise director would basically write an email saying, "No, I don't. No, I don't think this person will work out," and then they're done. Good,
That's
gone.
what, yeah, that would be my big worry. So that's why I haven't really, because that's what I've heard, and I don't want to fail. No
Well,
one wants to fail.
that's not the case now, though. At least with Carnival, the last the guy who booked us two ago gave people 6 months, one cruise a month. So you got basically two cruises a month, 1 week to figure it out. And if you figured it out, then you got on the roster, and if not, then you were gone.
That's really cool. That's good. That's good to know. So
Screw that! I want it the old.
in 5 years when they open back up, and I really hope that the cruise lines do not go. I mean, you heard about the. Do you know anything about the stock market or any of that stuff that went on? Like, I don't
I'm not
place.
a yeah no.
I'm not a stock person, as you can tell by my outfit. Uh, but I heard I don't understand what that is. That Gamergate or whatever they call it.
Yeah, they basically bought stocks that were being shorted to raise the value.
So what I heard, Jason, is if you, this is quickly what I heard. My understanding was, and my interviews are all over the place, so I'm sorry, but but what I heard was, okay, just say you bought a stock for $5 a share, okay? Now you you knew that that stock was going to go up to $10, so uh you somehow borrowed without the money to buy those $100 shares that were supposedly going to go up to $10. The problem was those stocks went up to $350 a share. So you got stuck.
No, it was kind of the reverse. You borrowed it thinking you could get it for this, and then it went up. So now you owe the lender. Yeah, something like that. But either
Okay.
way, it's I don't. Yeah, I'm.
Yeah, I don't know. I just heard that people were. See, you notice it's always drama, and I hate drama. I do. I hate it. People think you are a drama queen, like they go, and I'm not. I hate arguments. People think, oh God, we've seen you get into some, and I hate them.
Hmm.
I really hate them. Uh, but yeah, just I noticed that. Do you think the planet has gotten your opinion? Do you think the planet has gotten nicer, meaner, or more sarcastic?
Hmm.
What do you think?
I would have no way to gauge that because I think it's easier for people to be mean when there's no accountability for it. And some people whose I'm assuming self-esteem is really low. I mean, that's why they tell you never read the comments on the YouTube and all that stuff. But man, when you travel as much as I did, you run into some really nice people,
Mhm.
like great people. So I would hope nicer. Hope,
Hope.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen people just, if you go online too much, I notice that they call them keyboard warriors, but people
Mhm.
are very, if you go on Twitter, I mean, they'll show like, I don't know, I guess everybody thinks they're a comedian or something, but they'll come out with they'll say the most heinous thing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, how do you, as a human, how can you say that?
The
Like,
thing,
I don't get that part of it.
well, years ago, to get your opinion out was difficult, right? If you disagreed with the editor of a paper, you had to sit down, you had to write out a letter. You had to find the address, you had to get a stamp, you had to go and mail it. Now, and let's say you did that, And after the time it took, you were like, ooh, this is a little too much, right? You would redo it. But now people just right away, they don't even seem to think
No.
about what their response is. I chose long ago on my Facebook to not do anything political. I have I have fans from ships who are very right wing and fans who are very left wing. So in that particular form, social media, I just don't. It's just there to have fun and post pictures and promote shows.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna, that's the thing that I don't get. The Especially with the climate the way it is now, uh politically, if I were, in the entertainment industry, I wouldn't I wouldn't uh uh, I wouldn't pick a candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's tough on a ship too because you have it can be split 50-50. And I didn't have any Trump jokes. Well, that's not true. I used to have jokes about just educating Americans on the difference between Canada and the US. One of them was, we have a prime minister, you have a president. Do you know the difference? We don't let ours use Twitter. And it was just a way to get a quick laugh, and then I could see in the room. But it wasn't mean enough that it would separate everybody, but I could at least see their faces. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Who was it that gave the great, who said it? And I don't even watch basketball because all those guys are freaks. Anybody that's over 6 feet, anybody that's over 5'5" are freaks. So, uh,
How tall are you, buddy?
I'm 5'7".
So you're a freak.
I'm a freak of nature. I'm 5'7" in heels. So, it was Michael Jordan where he just goes, "I'm not going to put down either side because if I put down a Republican or a
Mhm,
Democrat or any of those, half of the group are buying my products. So why would I alienate?" And I think
mhm.
as a comedian, if you're a political comedian, great, but I'm not a political
That's your
comedian.
niche, yeah.
It's not my style. I'm just there to, I mean, I see some guys do political jokes and they'll fall flat on their face or they'll get a lot of hate, and I don't want that. I just want to have a
Yeah.
good time.
I also enjoy researching a subject to really kind of get as much out of a bit as possible. And then when you start to do political stuff and you look in, it would make me more angry than anything else.
Yeah, and I didn't
And
want, yeah.
angry me on stage is not fun.
Yeah, people always thought I was angry, and they would always come and go, "You always, you're not angry. You're just you." And
Mm,
I go, "That's just the way I speak. I'm
yeah.
not, I'm not I mean, I think I'm angry towards,
There's a way to be angry on stage, and it can't seem as though it's directed at the audience.
right.
We all have to go together on my angry train type of
Yeah.
thing.
Like you're a very big guy. I remember, and you used to do this bit that used to crack me up when we used to play Kitchener together. Me and Jason would go. It's about 2 hours away from me. I don't know how far it is for Jason, but we would always meet up there, and Jason would do this bit about the urinals because
Oh God,
he's a big guy, and I'm sure.
I
Do you
forgot
remember
about
that
that
bit?
joke.
The
Yeah,
urine, and it was a very. I always enjoyed that bit because I would always come up to you nervous as hell, going, "How the hell am I going to start this one off? This is going to suck. This is going to be a nightmare. This is gonna." You'd be like, "Relax, just relax." Just you'd have a laugh watching me having my panic attacks,
yeah.
and then you would just go up there and Jason's he was a paratrooper. He was in the military. He's killed a lot of people. So he would do this uh, uh, bit where you would see a huge guy on stage and he would talk about the urinals. And it was just it was nothing dirty about it. It was just
No, no.
funny.
It was how a big guy would have to angle in on the side, which is awkward because now the other big guy
Yeah.
are face to face. How's it going, man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And if you see Jason, you'd understand. So it was half of it was what I liked about it was that it was half uh uh vocabulary, like words, but the other half was visual. And I love that.
Yeah.
Anything that I could, picture cracks me up. So that would always and you get a laugh from the crowd, and that would make me because we would play, it felt like the dungeon.
It was in the basement, and they would make popcorn, and they would hold it in front of the fan that everybody would smell the popcorn, and it worked. People, but then they'd have to go in the back on the microwave. I'm like, maybe you guys should get a couple more
I
microwaves.
know, you'd hear it too. You'd be up there on stage going, "Hey, I got better get them laughing, or else I'm gonna."
Yeah, because those guys had a franchise, right?
Yeah, I ended up beating up. Remember when I beat the
Yeah,
living snot out of that weasel? He ended up going to jail. Did you know?
he went to jail. Yes.
Yeah, he's a sniveling little weasel. And anyways, good riddance. He gave comedy managers, comedy bookers a bad name. Uh, yeah, he tried to, but you know what killed me, Jason? He had a gold mine in Niagara Falls, right? That place was always packed. It was a great audience, and I never understood why people put themselves in these stupid positions. I'm not going to go into detail what he did,
Yeah.
but why and you see famous people put themselves, or anybody famous or whatever, yeah, put themselves, what human nature, why do people do that? Put themselves in, hey, if you got a job that paid you $1 million a year, okay, just say you had a job that paid you $1 million a year,
Yeah.
would you be doing anything to get yourself in trouble?
Well, you'd hope not. But again, when we come back to critical thinking, on a cruise ship, I am on a crew list, which means I could be tested for drugs. Marijuana is legal in Canada, but it's still a drug to them. So if I was drug tested, I could lose my job because of that. So I never did. It was easier to just be like, all right, I'm not going to do it. Um,
But they would test you.
random test. I got tested once in 9 years, but
And
I tested
and
me.
what would they do? Just have a urine, like ask you
Yeah,
to pee?
yeah, and they did not have a sense of humor about it.
Well, no.
I
I
did. I thought it was funny. I had boxer shorts on and had my regular shorts on my knees, and I'm like, all right, guys, where do you want me to pee? They were so serious in
Oh,
there.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
You know who had the best, uh, uh, I don't know if you met him, Wes Saharic.
Oh yeah, I love Wes.
He would do this bit where he would put apple juice instead of urine in it, and he would go, "Well, this looks a bit cloudy," and then before he'd hand it to them, he'd drink it back, and just
Yeah.
he never did, but it was a great bit.
Wes was
Uh,
always fun.
but yeah, I'm surprised that well, in 9 years they do a test. I'm surprised on a ship.
Oh, they
Uh,
do them every month. They
wow.
test the crew. Yeah, it's a safety thing because you're on a ship.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Now, what if it's medical? Do you know?
Doesn't matter if it was. It's again, it's legal in Canada. It's legal in California. It's legal in Colorado.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you if you got caught on a ship with it, and passengers did, they got
No,
the boot off.
no, not if it's like you can't walk around like if you got a bag of marijuana. I'm saying if you have a doctor's note saying this is
Doesn't
uh
matter. It's
doesn't
against
matter.
it's against their policy. Yeah.
Wow. I just thought they would sit there and go, well, this is like a legal kind of thing that this person would need.
Everything changes at sea, right? Because while the ships are out of a lot of them are out of the US, all their their ships are out of either the Bahamas or other ports of call for tax reasons. And maritime law is weird.
It is. Yes.
It should. I mean, the only maritime law thing I really liked was that if somebody's in trouble, you have to help them.
That's cool.
I thought that can we put maritime law everywhere for
I know.
just
Isn't
that
that
one?
isn't that cool though? By law, maritime law, you have to help them.
Yeah. I mean,
Instead of
I was on ships that found rafts that were sinking from people from Cuba, and they would always bring them on board, make sure they're safe, feed them some food, and then wait for the authorities to come.
yeah, I mean that would be pretty disgusting to have a raft full of people and just wave at them and I'm so sorry. Like that's where I would just I think I would, you know, I can't swim that well, but I would throw
Oh yeah, no, they always
yeah, there how the hell can you just have people do that to people, you know? But yeah, maritime law, if people are overboard, or if people out at
in
sea that
distress.
need help, distress, yes, that's the where does that come from? SOS comes from maritime, does it not? The SOS?
Hmm. I do not know, but I am happy that I have two screens.
Geez, I got one.
I'm part of. I do some online stuff. It originated in Germany.
Yeah, that's right.
German
Yeah,
maritime radio regulations. Yes,
yeah, I remember that. The Germans, man, they've come up. You know what
they've
I've
come
been
up with some good things and some
yes,
bad ideas.
yeah, some really they've come up with some great stuff and some really well, one one guy ruined it for everybody. Um, he was a jerk,
Yeah,
you know. Uh, he was a hell of a dancer, though. I'll tell you. A lot of people don't know that. Do you
I
remember
did not.
watching uh, Young Frankenstein?
Oh, a
No,
long time,
the producers, the original producers.
long time ago.
Okay, the original producers, the one guy, they wanted the worst, real fat, you know, spoiler alert, watch it. It's one of my favorite movies. But Mel Brooks, and no, he directs it. Zero Mostel, who passed away you know, he was great, and Gene Wilder.
Mhm.
They play these two characters, and really quick, they wanted to come up with if we put on a play and we sell shares and the play bombs, it's really bad, and we raised $1 million, we don't have to pay anybody back
Mhm.
because the show was bad. But if the show is a success, then we're screwed. So we need to find the worst play in history, and they find Springtime for Hitler, written by Franz Liebenschauer, and Franz Liebenschauer is played by a character actor named Mars. Funny, the man is funny as he played this German that had, you know, he thought that you know the Nazis, and one of the funniest things, you know, when you were a kid, you'd watch a movie and you didn't really know the topic too well, but just the character was so funny.
Mhm.
Just him being over the top, and he would talk about Hitler, and he would say, you know, nobody ever knew that he was a hell of a painter, and he could do, you know, he was, you know, two coats, you know, in less than an hour, and
Yeah,
funny
so
man. But
funny.
yeah, and then we've just lost uh, what's her name?
Cloris
Cloris
Leachman.
Leachman.
Yeah.
Beautiful. My God, she was beautiful. Do you ever see pictures of
Oh
her
yeah.
when she was younger?
Uh, because of her death, we were gonna rewatch Raising Hope. She plays the grandmother in that, and she is hilarious. If you've
Yes.
never seen the show, I recommend it.
Yes. In Bad Santa, she was in that too.
Oh, that's
She's
right.
been in tons of stuff. But if you ever watch uh look her up and look at her in her younger
Oh
days.
yeah.
My God, she was gorgeous. Like, what a woman.
Oh yeah, Betty White.
Yeah.
Yeah, Betty White used to do an hour-long live radio show every day.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you notice that entertainers of old, that their work ethic was
Um,
incredible?
yeah.
Like, when, a lot of people would crap on Jerry Lewis saying he wasn't the nicest guy, but, him and Dean Martin, they would do 7 shows a day,
Yeah.
like, just set, and he would just, bring people in, bring them out, just 7 a day, and the work ethic of those guys was incredible.
Well,
Uh,
I'm amazed at the lack of work ethic with people that I've seen working
yeah.
since I've been in the workforce. I mean, I get in early, so I'm ready to go. Phone is away.
But Jace, you're a military guy. You're very, I was in air cadets or space cadets, and it was very, you had to be at a certain time, certain place. You're a military guy, so you would be very,
But my
this,
kids are that way too.
yeah, but you're very, you have kids, yes,
Yeah.
but you're very uh disciplined is the
Mhm.
word. And I think that is something to look up at and say that's great, because if you want, I try and instill it in my son to go, son, don't be like me,
Yeah.
okay? Please do not end up like daddy. Just,
Yeah.
I want him to join, air cadets, or, I was because I told him one of the greatest things I had when, uh real quick, I was 15 years old, and I went to Trenton
Mhm.
Army Base, and they the pilots there, they took us out in a field, and you're a kid, you're not paying attention to anything, but they bus us to this field, and there's these gliders,
Yeah. That's
and I'm sitting there going, I don't know how to fly these things, because I was an idiot, like as usual. I haven't changed. So I get out, and they tell us these are pilots that need time, and they're willing to take any of you guys up
yeah.
for a glide. And I was terrified for about 3 minutes,
Mhm.
but it was the most coolest thing in the world, because you had the pilot, he would he would say, all right, you got exact, here, you take it, kid, and he would let you control it,
Yeah.
and you weren't going to do it, it's a glider,
Yeah.
so you can control it. I remember the one guy, he did the coolest thing in the world. He went, we were like this, and I'm up against like this the window, and he pulled out this camera, and he was the pilot, and he's taking pictures of the farms, the fields, and
Mhm.
everything. And I was like, this is like a surreal moment. You had the sunlight hitting your face. It was just this relaxing, beautiful. So yes, I my goal was to be a fighter pilot, but the problem was is uh you need a you need more to you need a little more skill than if I'm
Lots
fighting.
of math.
Yes, a lot of math, and you needed uh yeah, you needed yeah, these guys, I mean, the Canadian military, so if they only had, I think they owned 18 F-18s or Hornets or
Yeah.
whatever, and they owned maybe 12 of them. Well, you needed to be the top of your
Yeah.
class to get that seat.
Yeah.
So, maybe I could be a mechanic where I screw something up, but to be a pilot, a Canadian pilot, I don't think they get the credit that they deserve, because they
Agreed.
are they are at a certain level of skill that yeah, the average person, you couldn't get that seat. So
That's great.
Anyways,
But speaking of work ethic, tonight I am hosting an online event with it's called Majestic Circus. Friends of mine from the cruise industry started this up, so some of us host virtual events, trivia, and that kind of fun stuff.
okay.
So I have one of those tonight, so I have to go and get ready.
Okay.
It's always fun.
Yeah, you got to teach me how to do one of those one day soon. That'd be nice. But what do you do, real quick, uh, on your spare time? What do you do?
Well, now I don't have a tremendous amount of spare time because I have a day job. So lately, I've been taking some courses in copywriting, and I did a course on video editing, which I need to do more stuff on.
What do you want to edit? Just videos of
Anything. I have ideas for videos, but just to sit down with um, Adobe Premiere Pro. So I took a course with that. It's fascinating, all the stuff you could do. You know,
yeah, I took it about 10 years ago, and yes, and
that's different
it's
now.
it's very different now, but anyway, all right. So anything you want to plug,
Well, if anything, people can go to my website if you want to see what I'm up to. I am going to be producing some more videos, and I'm also going to I have a show idea to get me performing at least a little bit virtually, but it won't be stand up. No, not that.
okay, all right.
Then go to jasonblanchard.com to find
Well,
those.
I'll put a link to your website, okay? So
Sure,
then
man.
that way, if you
Awesome.
guys want to book Jason or you want to see Jason, incredibly talented, very funny man. Go check him out. Jason, it's been a blast.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks so much. I know it took forever to get going here, but I was trying something out. So thank you for bearing with
keep
me.
going. Try it out. I think it'll work the other way too. Just you got to figure out the technical side.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm very techy. All right. Thanks so much, Jace. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Later, bud.
All right. Ciao.